The new September 2022 ban list recently came into effect, and even though Fairy Tale Snow got hit, I still believe that Tearlament is definitely the best deck of the format, maybe even by a long shot. What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over my updated Lunalight tearelement deck for the new October 2022 format. Overall, the deck idea is still mostly the same as like previous formats. It's still kind of trying to do the same end boards, but losing Snow means you do lose a couple of extenders with the recurring level 4 body and the disruption. Anyways, without further ado, let's just hop straight into the deck profile. So, like I mentioned, I was playing Lunalight tearlaments. For the tearlaments, you're just maxing out on every single one of the monsters. I bumped it up from 2 Rhinoheart to 3 Rhinoheart from my previous list. I think you want to play 3 Rhinoheart now, just because you want as many good mills as possible from your tearlaments and whatnot. Losing Snow means you do lose one of your best mills, so I think playing the 3rd Rhinoheart really helps with that. Of course, Rhinoheart is also just a really good starter as well. Just another level 4 as well is good, because losing Snow means you do lose the level 4 body. Just having access to more level 4s is also really good as well. So yeah, that's the reason why I maxed out on all the tearlaments. The rest of the 9 names are pretty standard. I only played 3 planet, and I don't play terraforming. The reason being is I suspect that there's going to be a lot of cards like Eradicator and Spell Canceller in the mirror match, or people will be siding cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance because a deck like Runic is more popular now. So regardless, having slightly less spells in your deck I think is beneficial, because you don't want to lose to cards like that, which is also another reason why I cut like the terraforming for a copy of Rhinoheart. Yeah, Pellerino's an insane card, for sure, but you don't want to, you also, like I said, don't want to clog up your deck with too many like bad mills and like too many spells that make you lose to those cards. And then I played 2 Soliac. I still really like 2 Soliac. We are playing Foolish Burial Goods, so you do want to have the second one in your deck to be able to add off of something like Hit Kalos if you really need to. But of course, this is just a great mill, and also drawing it's also not a terrible thing to happen. You are able to play on your opponent's turn, even if like you can't really break their board fully. This can help you like make that last push by sending your Tearlament to the graveyard and fusing. So yeah, just honestly a really good card. Of course, Instant Fusion for the last like Tearlament card's still insane. Like I know I mentioned you don't want too many spells, but like this as a power spell is just way too powerful not to play. For the Lunalight engine, 3 Perfume, then 1 Tiger, 1 Chick, 1 Martin. So this is a very minimal Lunalight engine. I think you play the minimum Lunalight engine and it still gives you like the maximum output that the Lunalight cards can do. So essentially you don't need to play cards like a Yellow Martin or multiple Kaleido Chick, because they're just like honestly bricks at that point. What you want to have happen is like you mill a perfume and like have a perfume in hand, or like mill 2 perfumes or something, or like mill one of the monsters and like have perfume in hand. So essentially any combination of those gets you to like the full Lunalight combo, where you're able to just bring back monsters so many times. It's just honestly insane how insane this engine is. Now, Perfume's just a great card to mill. It's okay also, I should mention, if you get Eradicator with this, because like getting into the graveyard just doesn't really matter, or it's actually more beneficial for you. So you actually don't mind getting Eradicated on this. But yeah, minimal Lunalight engine I think is definitely just all you need. You don't really need more than this. And then I play 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. You could make a debate for cutting this down to like 2. Sort of a similar argument for not wanting to play that many spells because of cards like Spell Canceller and Eradicator. But I decided Foolish Burial Goods was a really powerful card because it bridges both the Lunalight and the Tearlament engine together, because you can set in Soliac or Lunalight Perfume. So it's just too good not to play. It's a really great starter. I also figured like if you're against those types of decks, you definitely just side this out going second into them, because like you just want fewer spells in your deck that are not chainable. But yeah, for now, triple Foolish Burial Goods is really good. And then 1 copy of Foolish Burial, just a god card. It gets no explanation really needed for that. We are still playing the Dangers. I decided to keep the Danger engine the same as last format. I really like these cards and I want to play more of them, but the deck count right now is sitting, I believe, at either 43 or 44, and I feel like that's kind of like the maximum you kind of want to take this deck, because otherwise your mills start becoming a little worse because they're clogged up with more non-tier names. and you don't want that happening. But if you like with further testing as the format goes on, you may find that like the dangers are incredibly powerful extenders that can help you play through boards. They give you like more bodies on board. I would personally consider playing another copy of Mothman if I were to add another danger, because it is a level 4. Like people will say, yeah, its effect like quote unquote sucks because you never want your opponent to like just like draw one, ditch one, but it is what it is. Like you only really get punished for it in the mirror, I would say. But yeah, anyways, 6 dangers, I think perfect number. You definitely want to play at least one, just so you have the option for a Jackalope to summon a level 4, and it's also a different type from like everything in your deck. So yeah, the dangers we're still playing, still incredibly powerful. For like the miscellaneous good mills, 1 Zephyros, 1 Destrudo. This is still the same. This is great extender for like Curious. This is insane as well because now not only can you bounce the dangers, now you can bounce the Lunalight Tiger. You also have the option to play a card like Raid Raptor Force Strix in your extra deck if you want to consistently search this and just get more value off of your Tiger. I thought about it, and perhaps it may be good with further testing, but initially I decided it just really wasn't worth playing it in the extra deck. And then the quote-unquote FDK part of the deck is Spell Canceller. I'm still on Spell Canceller. I think this card is incredibly good, just because I think Runics are going to be a lot more popular, and this deck just like hoses that deck, like hoses Runic Sprite, hoses like pure Runic, stuff like that. I need like Runic variant pretty much. Even in the mirror, it's really good. If people are still on power spells, so like cards like Super Poly, Droplet, Dark Ruler, they're just going to get punished by this as well. Of course, you don't want to get Mystic Mind either, so this is your out to mine, and to just make sure you don't lose to cards like that. It does suck that we lost Snow, because Snow was one of the ways that you protected the Spell Canceller from being run over. So now you just kind of have to set up like the Sprite Elf with like Murley and Celiac instead, and then summon like a Kaleido Heart to like protect the Spell Canceller. So still very doable, but yeah. Spell Canceller, just still an insane card, honestly. You can definitely still make the Dugaris combo very easily, even without Snow. And then for the going second cards, this is going to seem weird, but I'm going to explain why I initially think these hand traps are the way to go with the Danger Tier deck. So Droll and Lockbird, first of all. Droll, I think, is going to be incredibly good this format. Of course, against the mirror match, it's really good. Against, like, the Runic deck, it's okay. It's not greatest because they can do stuff in draw phase. But it does prevent you from being punished by those, like, very heavy, like, deep draw decks with, like, the Spellbook engine and, like, Iperia and stuff like that. This can help prevent that from happening. In, like, a bunch of other matchups, it's decent as well. So, like, into Fluanderies, it's really good. Into just a couple other decks, even if it stops like a single search, that can sometimes just be enough for you to like just continue pushing through their board. So I think even just trading like quote unquote 1 for 1 search is definitely not bad. But like you just don't want to be like overwhelmed by like either the mirror or by like those Runic decks that can like search and draw so many times. Like you just don't want to lose to that. So yeah, Droll and Lockbird, I think, for that very specific reason. Also because it's not a spell. Like I mentioned, I'm just really think that people are going to be on Spell Canceller more this format. You don't want to get punished by that. You want to prevent them from making their board in the first place, and Droll is one of the high impact hand traps that can actually do that. Next up, Cypherm Gear Gamma. Cypherm Gear Gamma, similar idea with Droll. It's a very high impact hand trap, but with Gamma, it's also very good because you can draw it as your 6th card and you can stop a card like Abyss Dweller if your opponent's not playing around it, or something like that. So yeah, being able to stop cards like that is incredibly good. You also have the opportunity to stop a card like Shifter. Shifter was something that I was really scared of because I just felt like more decks would be on it now, because like I figured Sprite would maybe my initial like thoughts on the format, like Sprite might turn towards playing like more of like a Shifter control kind of build where they like just play like cards like Gamma Burst, try to OTK after they Shifter you, something like that. You just want to stop Shifter because Shifter is like one of those hand traps that really just makes it so like you can't make a meaningful board unless you have like the perfect hand. So yeah, potentially being able to stop Shifter is really good. But yeah, like even if it doesn't, it's just a really good hand trap in general. It can stop my guess is that it can possibly stop the whole Sprite combo now, because if your opponent's playing like the Runic Sprite build, they're gonna have less extenders than like the pure Sprite build most likely, and just being able to Gamma the Gigantic then can almost just always end their turn pretty much. So yeah, I think Gamma's just a really high impact hand trap in the mirror match as well. You can punish people when they go for like the Griffin play to reset something, or if their hand is like weak enough, you can just Gamma the Curious, and then that should just end their turn there, or Gamma the Kikalos. So yeah, incredibly powerful card, and I think for that reason, I'm playing these cards. You just don't want to lose cards like Spell Canceller. They're incredibly high impact against like the top like decks that I'm thinking of right now. But of course, there are like downsides to this. I'm not going to deny it. With the dangers, it's not like the best in the world, because if you draw into them like while you're comboing, they don't necessarily do anything for you. So definitely not the greatest in that sense. But that's kind of like a sacrifice I think is worth making, just because it allows you to play better into that like spell hate that I think is going to be very common, and also makes it so like you're actually able to interact with your like tier opponent turn one, because like I feel like most of the time the power spells, even if you draw cards like Dark Ruler or Super Poly, is just not enough to actually break the board, because they just dweller you and they have like their whole setup, and then you can't really do anything to that. So yeah, for that reason, I'm playing the hand traps. I know it's a bit of a lengthy rant, but I just wanted to go in depth about why I think the hand traps are going to be good this format. I could be completely wrong. This is still at the beginning of the format. If things change, I would consider putting back Super Poly in. I really like that card. I think it's been pretty good for me in my experience. So yeah, if people are like maybe not playing Spell Canceller Eradicator, it's definitely something I'd consider. But yeah, that's the main deck. Should be 44 cards. Moving on to the extra deck, it's still pretty like similar and standard to like last format. Just the 5 fusions. Nothing changes from here. You definitely want all 5 of them. I think Kaleido Heart's definitely needed. Just because it outs like backward cards, outs like opposing Kaleido Hearts. You just want a good way to out stuff without destroying it or sending it to the grave. And of course, the other fusions just honestly all have their uses and they're just insane. Single Kikalos is all you need really. In your regular combo, you put back the Kikalos to make your Rura anyway, so you have access to it later. In the rare cases where your opponent does banish it when you're going second, at that point you're kind of just playing as if you're just trying to kill them in the future. So like just try to kill them as soon as possible so that the grind game just won't matter. For the XYZs, I am playing 1 Dugars, 1 Feral Imps, 1 Abyss Dweller, so like these 2 are still standard and needed in the deck. They didn't hit Dweller for some reason, so you still have like a quote-unquote FDK against the Mirror and some other matchups. Dugars is really good, like a Reborn Spell Canceller, but I've also used like the Draw to Discard one many times as an extender to get rid of a bunch of tears in my hand, or when I'm trying to like bait stuff out from my opponent. So that's really good. King the Feral Imps, this one is interesting, and I think this is like the flex slot that's that I have in my deck. I was considering playing Force Strix because, in theory, Force Strix does more for you than Tsuchinoku, but it's a lot more difficult for you to actually, like, put the Zephyros that you search off Force Strix into the graveyard without a card like Barricade Board Blocker. But I really don't think Barricade Board Blocker is very good in this deck after testing it, so I didn't want to go down that line. So Feral Imps, essentially, it solves the issue of not having, like, too many of the same like dark types. Like when you go through your Lunalight engine, you'll find that you have a lot of Beast Warriors and you're able to get like Aquas on the board pretty easily because of the Tearlaments. But the third type is kind of like elusive unless you like go quote unquote like neg to like summon like a dark or something in from your extra deck, and you don't want that to happen. So King of the Feral Imps takes the 2 level 4s, makes a Reptile, searches you a Reptile Extender as well. That's good discard fodder for like Lunalight Perfume. It's good for Griffin and whatnot because you just always get a body back in Tsuchinoko. But also, I figured this one was better than Fortress because it's also big enough to reasonably punch over things and make a Zeus after. Zeus was also kind of my quote-unquote like tech in a sense. It's not very common in Tearlaments deck, but I think Zeus is incredibly good, and it'll be incredibly valuable in this next format, just because being able to clear out like your opponent's Runic Fountain is very important. You want to be able to clear out all your tier opponents like field spells and stuff. You just want to clear the entire board. You can do something like just Dweller and then like make a Zeus right after, and then your opponent's not getting any grave effects either. Zeus just kind of solves the issue of you not being able to fully clear a board because realistically, in terms of actual removal, you have Kaleido Heart and you have the field spell, but then the field spell is not a very like consistent. You won't always have the field spell, so just being able to have a good removal card in Zeus, I think, is very important. So that's kind of why I'm playing these two. Realistically, you could cut these for some other stuff, but I haven't found like the need for anything. So like one more quick thing before I move on. Vijinte Kagasuchi, I think, is a very not needed card. I really don't think you want to be making that card very often. Like, yeah, mill 5 is nice, but like what happens if you miss? Then like essentially you just went neg for no reason. Whereas if you already have like the 2 Lunalights on board, it means you have access to Tiger, and then at that point I think Feral Imps just kind of solves the issue of just being able to get to the Curious really easy. This Uchinoko can like possibly discard Tears from your hand and trigger them as well. So that's why I think Feral Imps is just better than Kagasuchi. But if you guys feel Kagasuchi is better, you can absolutely just play this, and then Kagasuchi makes this pretty easily because it has a way to protect itself. That's it for the XYZs. For the Link monsters, 1 Elf, 1 Dark. I think these are the only Link 2s that you need. Elf is still a very important part of the end board. Maybe now so more important than ever, just because of, I think, the prevalence of the runic cards. Being able to protect your stuff from targeting is very, very important against that deck. That deck, well, it'll make it a lot more difficult for that deck to deal with your boss monsters. Dark, of course, is very standard. Incredibly good going second card. Not much more to say about that. Of course, 1 Curious. They didn't ban this, so we still have access to this. And then for the Link 4s, 1 Appaloosa, 1 Griffin. These are common parts of your end board. Appaloosa, you can punish people who get greedy and hold Nib, because some people will just hold Nib for like the very end when they think you set up like Griffin, Spell Canceler, all that. But you can just punish them by like going Curious plus a random guy into Appaloosa, and now they can't Nibiru you, and you should be good. Griffin's also incredibly powerful floodgate against a lot of decks out there. Just making it so your opponent's just never being able to use special summon effects on top of like having no spells just means a lot of decks just can't play through that. So yep, that's it for the those Link 4s. And then the final card, my maybe like personal attack. You can also consider this as a flex slot, but Access Code Talker, I found from my experience, comes up quite a decent amount when going second. Essentially, you just want something easy to push for game with, and Access Code being able to like target a Curious after like Curious stumps a tier to summon like Kaleido Heart. Like that's just game on its own because 53 plus the copy of Kaleido Heart's 3k. That's 8,300 damage. Just very simple. Being able to go for game shields you from Nib as well, so where you don't have to commit that much to the board, because it's just a single Access Code Talker plus a Kaleido Heart, which floats under Nib. So I figured Access Code was really, really good. You don't really need like that many pops. Like you're pretty much guaranteed to have one with Curious, because Curious is usually the way that you're making it. Sometimes Dark as well if you're going second. So having 2 pops I think is more than sufficient, considering you have the potential to have Kaleido shuffle another card and then the field spell pops another card. So yeah, Access Code Talker I think is really good for that reason. Very easy to make, because you do spam out a lot of bodies. Curious plus that turns into Access Code. And I think it's just a very good way for you to clear cards and go for game. So I just wanted multiple ways to like clear cards, which is why I'm playing Zeus and Access Code Talker. But yeah, that's going to do it for the deck profile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know some of your thoughts about the deck. If you have anything you change, or if you agree or disagree with the card choices, do let me know in the comment section below. I do read every single comment, and I do appreciate you guys taking the time to write those comments. But yeah, with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the test hand / combo tutorial video of this deck coming out soon. This deck is not the easiest deck to play by any means, so I'll hopefully able to, through that video, show you guys some of the great plays that you can make with this deck, even without snow. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.